Fela Bank-Olemoh, FBO, is a serial entrepreneur and strategist and a leader, passionate about education and youth development. He holds a master's degree in business administration from Business School Netherlands and is an alumnus of Lagos Business School of Pan Atlantic University. When he transitioned to public service, he served as a special advisor on education to the governor of Lagos State. He later became the senior special assistant on education interventions to the president of Nigeria. He's an award-winning leader and a dedicated advocate for Nigeria's future. Speaking on the mountain of education with the topic, Education as a Tool for Future Social Engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, please get on your feet and give a round of applause to Mr. Fela Bank-Olemoh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to share my thoughts with you on education as a tool for future social re-engineering. Let me ask you, what's education? Who wants to help me quickly? The systematic process of what? Let's say it together, of what? It is what? I can't hear you. It's a lifelong journey that speaks to you. At whatever stage you are in life, it's a lifelong journey. It doesn't end. Oh, I've got my master, I've got my doctorate. It doesn't end. Listen, our forefathers did not go to a formal school. True or false? Were they educated? Yes, they were. They didn't go into a formal school, formal education, but they were brilliant. They were educated. They lived better than you and I did, ultimately. They lived longer. But I like the fact that it's a lifelong thing. Another thing I like is about acquiring knowledge, skills, and values. Let me speak to values. One of the things I think we're losing quickly, and especially in the church, is our values. You know, I tell people, I'm civilized, but I'm not necessarily westernized. Did you get that? I'm civilized, but I'm not necessarily what? Westernized. About values. Westernization speaks to Western values. And I believe strongly that Western values, most of them are anti-God. So be careful how you are educated. Am I making sense? Be careful what? If you're not careful, you are educating yourself to hell. Educating yourself into poverty. So even as you try to educate yourself, be careful, because it's a systematic process of acquiring knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits. I believe this and I say it every time. You are 100% responsible for the outcome of your life. Did you hear that? What did I say? Not 99%. Oh. You are 100% responsible for what? The outcome of your life. The height of a building is determined by what? The depth of its foundation. Education, now this speaking to you, is like the foundation you build for yourself. So I tell people this a lot. Listen, I say, imagine your life is a plot of land. 2 plots, 3 plots. Imagine. Are you with me? Education is the foundation you build on the land. Now guess what? When you started out life, you didn't have a lot of capital. Am I making sense? But you have the same land. I beg you, build a good foundation on the land. Don't build a bungalow foundation, a BQ foundation. Because in future, you are not able to build a skyscraper on a bungalow foundation. But build a skyscraper foundation on the house, on your life. Even if it's a bungalow you are putting now, no problem. In the next 20 years, you can take down the bungalow and do what? Because the most important thing is what? It's a foundation. So education is very important. Education is the power to think clearly, the power to act well in the world's work, and the power to appreciate life. Education can be formal, classroom-based. Most of us have been to formal education. It can be informal, what you do outside school system, and it can be non-formal education. I mean, most of our parents did that. He said, it is the mark of an educated mind. To do what? To be able to entertain a thought without what? Accepting it. We accept too many things we should not. And it influences our lives. Like one of the speakers said, you put up something on social media, nobody likes it, you accept it, you're not good enough. Oh God, who said so? Who told you that? You're not sharp enough. Why? One of the key things you need to do as you go through your journey of education is to be careful the people that speak into your life. And be careful the people that you're allowed to speak into your life. I don't know if I'm making sense. You know, somebody tells you you're not good enough. You know, you have to ask yourself, who gave you the right to tell me if I'm good enough or not? You. Even you, are you good enough? Be careful the people that speak into your life. An educated mind is able to entertain a thought without accepting it. And I say this to everybody here, especially in a social media generation, where guess what? Somebody sits somewhere. You don't know their academic background. You don't know the person's experience. You don't know what he or she knows. You don't know how depressed the person was. You don't know. And puts up something and you take it hook, line, and sinker. And you run your life on that. Social reengineering aims to dismantle existing systems of inequality, discrimination, and injustice, and to build a new framework that promotes fairness, inclusivity, and empowerment. The reason I love education is that I believe strongly that education is the greatest tool outside you giving your life to Christ that can change your narrative. Education. Educate one person in a family. I mean, most people here, if you look back, most people here, probably, you look back, probably your great-grandfather didn't go to school. Check it. If you look back, then maybe your father now maybe your grandfather now went to school, that sent your father to school, and because of that, he sent you to school. Social reengineering. Because with education, it opens a new world to you. And I'm going to show you one of the greatest education initiatives in this country. I'm going to show you. I'm going to come to it. Okay, Nigeria, our great country. Nigeria, population, growth rate, this should worry us. Our growth rate should worry us. Because when we grow our economy, maybe 1%, 1.5%, so we're having more children than our economy is growing. So every year we are poorer. Yeah, we are. We are. Every year we're poorer. Every year. Because we're having more children than our economy is growing. Am I making sense? Simple terms. Simple terms. Roughly 60% of our population is young, right? Let's just do a quick number. If that's 60% of our population, let's say 200 million people, half of 200 million is what? 100 million, right? So 6% is like 120 if I'm not wrong, right? Let's say attrition. Let's say half die, God forbid. We say have 60 million. Imagine how 60 million have 3 children each. How many is that? 180 million. And the faces I'm seeing here, you have more than 3 children. The faces I'm seeing here. I'm worried about you. Am I making sense? That's why it's key that we transform our education system to make our people more productive. Listen, oil, gas, everything is finite. Every year they reduce. The only thing that can increase is human capital. So if I put value on human capital, we can do anything. That's why God said in Tower of Babel, like we referred to, He said, if these people put their mind to do anything, nobody can stop them. Even I cannot stop them. You know why I can't stop them? Because I gave them the dominion mandate. The dominion mandate was not to Christians, it was to man. He said, let us make man in our own image. Let him have dominion. He has nothing to do with Christianity. Whether you are, that's why China is doing well. Do they worship God? They don't believe in God. Because every human being has what? The dominion mandate. And when man repelled God in Tower of Babel, God scattered them. He didn't withdraw the dominion mandate. So that's why man will always do well. Now we're saying that as Christians, we need to apply that. Am I making sense? Yeah, you know this. Our education challenges in Nigeria, well, there are plenty. I mean, I've had the privilege of working at the state level and the federal level. And I can tell you that, I was telling somebody, we're not going to solve our education problem in Abuja, we're going to solve it in our states. You're not going to solve Nigeria's problems in federal. It's at state level, at local government level. That's where you're going to solve it. We place too much emphasis on the federal government. I'm telling you. We give our governors too much of a free ride. Because you and I live in states. We don't live in Nigeria. Do you live in Nigeria? You live in a state within Nigeria. If you say Nigeria is poor, who is Nigeria? It's the states that make up Nigeria that makes Nigeria poor. If Nigeria will be rich, if Nigeria is going to change, the states must get better. We now aggregate it together and say Nigeria has done well. Am I making sense? Same thing when you say out of school students. Where are the out of school students? Are they in Nigeria? They are in a state within Nigeria. I don't know if I'm making sense. We have a huge number of out of school students. Huge. It's worrying, and it should worry us. I'm telling you, it should worry us. Our schools are overcrowded. We're not adopting fast enough edtech solutions in our education system. There's no accountability and transparency. Our budgets, our teachers are poorly trained, overstretched, major educational problems, and it affects everybody here. Am I right? I love this. And please, let's read this together. 1, 2, 3, go. Never. And it applies to your life too. The problems you created at this level, if you want to solve it, you can't keep thinking the same way. Albert Einstein. And I've always said, the most successful, the most revolutionary education intervention, in my opinion, in the history of this country is free education. That was done in the Southwest by the late Chief Obafemi Auditorium. Nothing comes close. Nothing touches it. Look at this. Our free education scheme in Western Nigeria from 1952 to 1966 was the first of its kind approach to solving education problems. Listen, only 381,000 schools out of only 381,000, 1.1 million schools attended primary school then. Look at it. 96,000 children whose parents could not afford to fees would have entered school. The colonial government wasn't serious about it. Females were not allowed to go to school. They didn't have teachers. That was the challenge you met. Are you with me? Can you see the numbers? Look at what they did. He presented his plan in 1952. He implemented it when? 3 years. 3 years of planning. Listen, watch. Citizens were taxed. 40% of the region's annual budget went to education. Look at the numbers. In 1954, there were 3,550 primary schools. By 1958, look at the number. Number of secondary schools, 68. Look at the number. Number of teacher training centers, look at the number. Number of students in primary school, look at the number. Never in the history of this country have we again replicated such a successful education. Never. Never. I went to Government College Lagos. It was free. Under Jakonde, he built Jakonde schools. People then were saying he built Jakonde schools, but the guy was, because he knew that he had to increase access to education. So he decided to focus funds on building functional schools, but getting teachers and students in schools. If we want to transform the education system in Nigeria, we have to do something as big as this. And that's why I worry. I don't think we're even thinking that big any longer. This is me. I said, for us to move the country forward, we cannot just tweak the system. You tweak a system with a 70 to 80% performance. But the educational system we have today, we can't tweak it. We have to redo it totally. You see, you can only tweak a system that is giving you, okay, it's 80%, 70%, let's tweak it. But if it's giving you 20%, you can't tweak it. You have to rewrite it. You have to abandon it. It's not working. The system we have now, it's not working. It's not working any longer. And that's the reality. We need to rework our education system. We have to make, and it's not just for government, it's also for us to answer some hard questions. We can't have an education system where our lecturers are going to strike for it doesn't work. We'll be shut down universities for months while the private schools are going on. Private universities are going on. Public universities are shut down. And we are quiet. Can't work. How do we solve this problem? How do we crack it? My ideas, and I'm talking from experience. I believe strongly, and all my life, my 8 years in government, one of the things I've believed strongly in is public and private partnership. I think that's the only thing that works. And let me tell you why. Government is a bad businessman. Government cannot do business. Government is not wired to do business. Government is not wired to do profits. Make profit, not. That's why you see a government institution started today, come back 10 years, is run down. Give it to private sector, it works. You know why? Because private sector makes money from it. Government business is everybody's own. Nobody cares. Look at that there. When we had Nitel in Nigeria, Nitel, look at the number of, in 1998, look at the number of telephone lines we had in the country. After privatization, look at it. Look at it now. I mean, your generation you're enjoying. Nitel. I mean, I was privileged. We had a telephone in my house, 833-600, I can't forget. But it was so weird, one of the few people that had telephones. You have to wait for dialing tone. You know what? Wait for dialing tone. You're waiting for dialing tone. You'll be waiting for dialing tone. You'll be happy. There's dialing tone. You quickly make a phone call. But look at the numbers. That's why I say government. Nitel was government owned. Just could not make it work. Now look at this. Look at this. The first university in Nigeria, UI, right? How many people went to UI here? Look at this. Guys, look at this. Oh. Government's first university. What year? 19 what? The first private sector university. What year? Total number of universities in Nigeria. How many? How many is government? It took government 75 years to get 91 universities. It took the private sector how many years? To get how many? Oh, you will tell me that the government universities have better structures. I agree. Oh, they have more people. I agree. But the numbers don't lie. That private sector ultimately will dominate. Government is not efficient enough to run education by itself. You need private sector. I'm telling you. That's the only way we can rework our education system. That's the only way. And it's not only for you and I, it's for our children. How many of you send your children to government schools? Let me see your hand. Very few. There was a time in this country, listen to me. There was a time in this country that sending your child to a private school was an aberration. It means your child was not good enough to get into a government school. Can you believe that? No, let me blow your mind. In the 70s and the 80s in this country, if you went abroad, your child went abroad, it was because she wasn't sharp. Did you hear that? Can you believe that? If your child in the 70s and 80s, if you sent your child to an American university in UK, it was because your child was not good enough to enter IFE, UI. That's why. It wasn't good enough. And your parents will be sending you abroad and abusing you. Go get out. Olodo. I'm telling you, they are abusing you and sending you abroad. Today, we are carrying them and pushing them abroad. I call it slavery. You know, slave trade then, slave trade then, they used to come and take us, bound us and go. Now, we are the ones sending our best and brightest abroad. And get me, it is not, they are being assimilated. My greatest worry for Nigeria is this generation. They have no connection to this country. When our parents traveled, they couldn't wait to come back. These ones, they can't wait to what? When our parents traveled, they sent money home regularly. When these ones go, they don't even know family again. We need to solve this. I'm telling you, listen. No, 200 million people. How many people can jackpot? How many? Who will take you? 200 million people. All the jackpot we are shouting about is not up to 1% of our population. It's not up to 1%. 1% of 200 million is 2 million people. It's not up to 1%. So whether you like it or not, even if you jackpot, your uncle is here, your auntie is here. Am I making sense? Your father, your mother. We got to make it work. Government and private sector works together to solve our education problem, and we have to make it work. You see, what government should do, big vision. And I like this. I said, government must be close enough to the private sector to earn their trust. So that's the way it works. But guess what? But also far enough to regulate them effectively and dispassionately. That's what we don't do well. We do the first one where we try and earn their trust, but we're too close to private sector to tell them no more regulation. Because you know why? Private sector is about profits. Government, our profit is the lives of the people. So they're always fighting against themselves. Yeah. Because private sector is, I want to make billions. But governments, I want to improve the lives of the people. You know, I said earlier and I'll say again, you know, if you ask me from experience that one of the things that we've not done well in this country, I will tell you. And I said it before, Nigeria, we seem to have a knack of doing the wrong things every time. We seem to be very good at always missing a chance. We can't change our education system, and that's a call to everybody here if we don't get involved. I said before that political power is about politicians. The politicians. I said you can be a politician and not be a patriot. You agree? I mean, patriots are people that love their country. They put their country first. And guess what? You can be a patriot and not be a politician. You agree? But bless this country whose politicians are patriots. Any country, check any country that has turned things around in this generation. UAE, simple. Political power was in the hand of who? Patriots. Simple. You can say what you like about Rwanda. You can say anything you like about Kagame. He's been there for, I don't care. But I know that country has what? Has transformed. Oh, China. You can say what you like about China. I'm not their best friend. But guess what? They are a superpower here to stay. Going nowhere fast. If we want to solve big problems in this country, our education problem, which we are focusing on, we need, I'm telling you, because there'll be pushbacks. Because people benefit from the system as it is now. The only way we can change our narrative as a nation, and I'm challenging everybody here, is to get involved. You must get involved. You are a stakeholder. We must ensure that patriots come to power. I'm telling you, people that genuinely love this country. That's the way you change narrative. Yeah, I talk about for you to get this kind of things done, to push back, you need people that are going to push things, and that's where the church comes in. And with all due respect, I think the church, you know, there were times in this country, I remember in the 90s, you hear when Khan says something, people listen. Are you with me? You recall? Archbishop Olubumi Olukojo, something like that. Yeah, it's late now. Oh, when that man speaks, the late Gani Fawemi, when they speak, they were moral leaders. What worries me most about us and its education, about values, beliefs, is that if I ask Christians, who are your mentors? Who do you look up to? Let me ask you, how many moral leaders do we have in Nigeria? Moral leaders. I can't name them again. Then we have Taye Solarin, we had Gani Fawemi, we had people, we had oh God, Archbishop Benson Dausa. We can't change our, it's because you know why? There'll be pushbacks. ASU will go on 20-year strike. You know, government, we need people that will speak truth to power. But when the pulpit is too close to government, when every person now feels that your credibility is that government is close to you, then there's a problem. You know what worries me? You know when, oh my God, I'm digressing. You know when Peter and John were going to the temple, you know what they told the man at the beautiful gate? The guy was looking up to them to give him money. You recall? You know what he said? He said, silver and gold I do not have, but that which I have I give to you. In the name of Jesus, stand up and what? Today's church is silver and gold we have. Peter said we don't have silver and gold though. But guess what? This one, get up. But today's church, silver and gold we have. Connections we have. I'm not saying we shouldn't have silver and gold. But I'd rather we keep the silver and gold and not throw away the power. Am I making sense? We have a lot of things to do. But let me talk about vocation. We have to transform our vocation system. We are too focused on tertiary education, university. We are too focused on it. You go abroad, you don't have to go to university to earn a good living and live well. You know that. You even pay more for guys that do vocation than you pay. I went to my friend's house. I was with my friend last year on holiday, and one guy came to, all he came to do was to set up the glass in his kitchen, you know. And the guy just came with his box, you know, strolled in, spent like 2 hours there. I said, Pali, how much did you pay? He said, fella, that's £400. Money kilo so. I want to call the guy, Uncle, can you teach me? Can I come here? And I'm telling you. I'm telling you. That's it. Vocation. We need to create a system that makes it practically impossible for anybody to go through school in Nigeria and not learn a skill. It must be impossible. You don't understand? It must be impossible for you to leave a school system in this country from primary school and not learn at least one vocation. Not the one that you learn on just writing, practical. And to do that, we need private sector partnership. Because it doesn't make sense for government to say, I want to build vocation centers around. It doesn't make sense. That's a waste of time. And I'm talking from experience. I did it in government. We can partner with private sector organizations to set up the vocation centers and train the students for us. Let's just focus on sending students there. Let private sector do what they can do. And that is create business. All you need to do to solve an education problem is to create an economy around it. Private sector will solve it. Government's job, create what? An economy around what? Around the problem. Simple. GSM, what do we do? Create an economy around it. What happened? Private sector came. Boom. Any problem, housing, create what? An economy. What will happen? Private sector will come and boom. That's what we need. In 2019, the carrying capacity of Nigerian universities was 750,000. Guess how many people did JAMB that year? 1.9 million. What happens? We need vocation. We need to restructure our education system to ensure that everybody can learn a skill. And I throw it here. If you don't have a skill you're doing, you're in big problem. If you have a skill, you can never be out of work. Never. Oh, you want to get your BSc or do that. But get a skill. Learn a vocation. You must learn a vocation. It guarantees that you will never lack in your life. You will never lack. You lose your job, you have something you can do. You have something you can do. Let me round this up. Let's do it, please. We'll close with this. 2 minutes.
There's a confusion about China that, and let me at least give you my opinion. The popular conception is that companies come to China because of low labor cost. I'm not sure what part of China they go to, but the truth is China stopped being the low labor cost country many years ago. And that is not the reason to come to China from a supply point of view. The reason is because of the skill and the quantity of skill in one location and the type of skill it is. Like the products we do require really advanced tooling. And the precision that you have to have in tooling and working with the materials that we do are state of the art. And the tooling skill is very deep here. You know, in the US, you could have a meeting of tooling engineers and I'm not sure we could fill the room. In China, you could fill multiple football fields. It's that vocational expertise is very deep, very, very deep here. And I give the education system a lot of credit for continuing to push on that, even when others were de-emphasizing vocational. Now I think many countries in the world have woke up and said, you know, this is a key thing, and we've got to correct that. But China called that right from the beginning.
Ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with that. Like I said earlier, we're 200 million people. We're the largest black nation on earth. The largest gathering of black people in the history of mankind. You know, since man started, you've never had so many black people live in the same place. I believe strongly that we're not a mistake. I believe strongly that we're not a mistake. And I believe strongly that we're going to turn things around. We can't turn things around if we don't get our education right. We can't get our education right if you and I don't get involved. And above it, I leave you with this, that thought. Get a skill. No matter what you're doing, I don't care where you work. I don't care how high you're being paid. Create time to get a skill. And I leave you with this. People say many times that, you know, I'm busy. No. What you love, you create time for. You're not busy. It's not just important enough. If you want to change your narrative, you want to re-engineer your life, educate yourself, but you want to go a step further, get a skill. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
To me Olúwa ò ṣe fún mi o, Baba. Olúwa ò ṣe fún mi o, Baba. Nínú oore rẹ̀, oore rírí jan, oore rírí mu, oore ìdásí mi, oore àlàáfíà o. Mélòó ni wọ́n kàn o? Ó ń gbé mi fò, ó ń gbé mi sáré, ọwọ́ Olúwa ń bẹ lórí ayé, àyà kúrò ń gbé mi fò, ó ń gbé mi sáré, káṣó, ọwọ́ Olúwa ń bẹ lórí ayé mi yóò.
At the Capstone Church Without Walls, we have been called to be a part of your lives and your journey towards greatness. We have been called to serve you in ways that support your well-being and promote your good. In our community of faith, every soul matters as we are bonded together in covenant and enjoy the fellowship of one another. Serving and caring for others through different outreaches and other relevant life supporting channels is our way of life. At the Capstone Church Without Walls, we seek to help you discover purpose and thereby turn on your light to shine for everyone to see. We are the celebration company. We are never tired of celebrating your every win. Why should we not? We have God's love shed abroad in our hearts. What more? We hold the word of truth and the worship of Jesus in high esteem in our midst. It is where we draw fuel for life and relevance. So, welcome to the Capstone Church Without Walls, where we train, mentor, and release kingdom-class leaders into their God-sponsored purposes.